You know, for centuries, we've heard these incredible stories of miraculous recoveries that seem to defy explanation. They've fascinated scientists and believers alike. But what if the key to healing wasn't just about medicine? What if it was also about belief? That's what we're digging into today: the science, the scriptures, and this really powerful idea.
So this is really the core question, right? Can something as personal as, well, intangible as faith actually trigger real, physical, measurable changes in our bodies? It's a huge question. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to be clear. We're not setting this up as some kind of fight between faith and science. Not at all. Think of it more like they're two different lenses, you know? Two different languages, even. Both trying to make sense of the same incredible human experience: healing. So, let's start with the bedrock idea. For thousands of years, this promise has been right at the heart of so many faith traditions. It's this deep, fundamental belief that prayer, when it's offered with real, genuine faith, can be a direct path to getting well. All right, now let's switch gears a bit. Let's put on our science hats and look at what modern research is uncovering about the mind's just incredible power over our bodies. And it turns out belief isn't just a feeling. It's a real, powerful, biological force. I'm sure you've heard of the placebo effect, right? People sometimes brush it off, saying, oh, it's all in your head. But that's exactly the point. That's what makes it so amazing. The simple belief that a treatment will work, even if it's just a sugar pill, can create real physical improvements. It's maybe the best scientific example we have of that mind-body connection at work. So how does this actually work? Well, this is the really cool part. When you believe something is going to help you, your brain literally starts releasing its own pharmacy of powerful chemicals. We're talking about things like endorphins, those are the body's natural painkillers, and dopamine, that chemical that makes you feel good and motivated. Just the act of believing kicks off this whole chemical chain reaction that can actually, physically, reduce your symptoms and help you heal. And this is where you start to see this incredible parallel. Listen to the language here. It's all about believing that you've already received what you asked for. That idea lines up perfectly with the placebo effect, doesn't it? The power gets unlocked by the absolute conviction that the healing is already underway. Okay, so we've talked about belief in general, but what about the specific act of prayer? What happens when people aren't just passively believing, but actively engaging in this spiritual practice? Now, look, studying direct cause and effect here is really, really hard. But the data we get from patients themselves, it's pretty compelling. Study after study shows that people who pray, or have others pray for them, often report feeling less anxious, less stressed, and yeah, sometimes they even report recovering faster. The key takeaway is that the practice itself has a real positive effect on their well-being. And maybe this is why. In Scripture, prayer isn't really talked about as just some passive, hopeful wish. It's described as something active, something powerful and effective. It's framed as a real tool, an action you can take that's meant to have a direct impact, strengthening you in both mind and body. In that phrase, your faith has healed you, that's not just a one-time thing. You see that idea pop up again and again, echoed through so many historical and religious stories. It just keeps reinforcing this timeless connection, that the act of believing itself can be the catalyst for real, physical change. Okay, so on one hand, we have the science of belief, the placebo effect. On the other, we have the spiritual practice of prayer. So, how do we actually connect the two? Let's try to build that biological bridge and see what's physically happening inside our brains during these moments of faith. This is where it gets really fascinating. When someone is praying or meditating, we can actually see it on brain scans. fMRIs show more activity in the parts of the brain that handle emotional regulation and stress. So what happens next? Well, that brain activity leads to a drop in stress hormones, like cortisol. And when cortisol levels go down, it takes a huge strain off your body, which can actually strengthen your immune system. It's a literal step-by-step chain reaction, from a thought to a physical response. And boom, once again, you find this amazing parallel in Scripture. This idea of sending out a word to bring about healing. I mean, that lines up so well with our modern picture of the brain, sending out these complex signals that ripple through the entire body, kicking off this whole process of restoration. So, where does this leave us? What's the big takeaway? I think the most important point is that maybe, just maybe, science and faith aren't fighting each other here. Maybe they're just two different ways of looking at the same thing. Two different vocabularies trying to describe the same ultimate goal: becoming healed and whole. It really breaks down like this. Science is fantastic at explaining the how. It shows us the neurochemical pathways, the stress reduction, the immune response, all the mechanics. But faith often gives us the why. It provides the hope, the meaning, the courage, that deep-down motivation that can literally fuel a person's will to get better.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Faith is all about having confidence in what we can't yet see. And it's that very confidence, that assurance, that seems to be able to switch on these very real, very physical healing mechanisms that science is only now starting to fully map out.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. Whether you come at this from a scientific angle or a spiritual one, the power of belief is just undeniable. So the real question becomes, what could your belief unlock? Your belief in your treatment, in your own body's power to heal, or in something bigger than yourself? What could that unlock for you?